Ah, the small, freshly mowed grass. Well, that's one. Can you hear us all right, Mary? I'm hoping that we're coming through. I think we are. I hope we are. I imagine we are.
I haven't said anything yet, I don't think so. Now you can hear if I'm coming through.
Yes. Well, we'll unplug Amber here so that she can.
That would be rude. I am a vital part of this operation.
Oh, you are, and that's why we'll cut it off. Oh, excellent. We're glad to hear that you can hear us. Welcome to the April live stream. And I'm glad to see that we have at least one vote. One vote for
Yeah, I have
other.
to go vote. I'm now getting into the live stream.
We got a lot of great stories for you today. Some greater than others. How's everything on your end, Mary? Apparently I can't speak. This is going to be a great live stream already if I can't speak. So we'll probably just end up getting started here and jumping into things and going from there. Let's go.
Oh, I saw my first butterfly today too. I was gonna tell everyone that they're one of my favorite things of spring. So.
Oh, excellent. Glad to hear you're doing well, Mary. And yeah, Amber just saw her first butterfly. Oh, hello, Sue Sums. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. We were about to get started. You almost missed some of the first story. Speaking of missing some of the first story, our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Bringing a Much Older Guy to Easter Dinner After My Dad Left My Mom for Someone Close to My Age? I am an 18-year-old female and I moved out at 15 when I got into a boarding school abroad. When I was 12, my dad, a 45-year-old male, cheated on our mom, a 43-year-old female, with a woman, a 26-year-old female, who was 20 at the time. They ended up divorcing, and he's been with her ever since. She's only a few years older than me, and for the past few years, she's been at every family holiday. She clearly is only after his money, but he's too dumb and stubborn to understand that. Well, this year for Easter, I flew back home and asked a friend of mine, a 38-year-old male, to come with me and pretend to be my boyfriend just for a few days at home. After dinner, my dad pulled me aside and told me that he felt uncomfortable with the situation. I told him that I didn't do anything wrong and that after him, love has no age. And according to him, I think they mean. He told me that I ruined everyone's Easter by being selfish and bringing someone his age to dinner. I flew back to school, but now I'm getting messages from a few relatives saying that I should apologize to my dad and break up with my quote-unquote boyfriend. I haven't responded, and I don't think that I'm in the wrong because he's made my life uncomfortable since the moment he cheated on my mom. Am I the jerk? It seems like many think that this is a lie. I would love for it to be a lie, but I met my friend at a book club when I moved to the US. I'm from Europe originally, and he's been a great father figure to me, by the way, to be honest. When I had no friends there, he would buy me dinner and actually spend time with me, and he's recently divorced from his sweetheart. So he would have spent Easter alone anyways. Therefore, decided to take him with me and show him around. For some reference, I didn't say half of the bad things that my dad did, or the whole story. It would have been too long, but trust me, cheating isn't the only thing that he did. And folks, I know this is immature. I know it's extremely immature of me, but I wanted to show him how it feels. Thanks a lot for the advice, everyone. I'll update for Christmas. Lol. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, this kind of goes to show the hypocrisy of these people being like, well, it's okay for OP's dad to date a much younger woman, but OP brings home an older man and they're all of a sudden up in arms.
Yeah.
Like, he gets the optics here are not great, and I hope that he reflects on his life and his choices and stops pestering OP.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue I have here is basically it's the exact opposite of the situation where the father was in, right? Basically, it's the same age gap, roughly. It's the same ages, roughly. And now he's showing how hypocritical he is because he's saying that he's not comfortable with large age gap relationships when it comes to his daughter, but he's perfectly fine with them when it comes to him, right? So I think that OP is not really in the wrong here because I think that they were just trying to highlight the double standard that he has.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think this may be bringing up some uncomfortable feelings for him about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably part of why he's lashing out.
Yeah.
Because it is very clearly like there's a direct corollary here, and he needs to work on those feelings and not take it out on OP.
What do you think of this guy that OP is quote unquote dating?
I mean, I don't have enough information about him to really form an opinion.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think it's a little peculiar. Let's put it that way.
It is peculiar that he would kind of drop everything to go to OP's, you know, dinner thing, but
So I have a couple of theories on this. Either one, he's interested in her and he's not really like letting it on, right? Which I hope that's not the case. Two, OP is actually kind of wealthy because her dad is wealthy, and so basically it was like a free vacation to Europe for him. I'm hoping that's probably like more of the case, is that he just kind of viewed this as like, oh, it's a free vacation to Europe, and or it's something like he just kind of doesn't have family, and this was sincerely just like a, oh, I'm just gonna go and hang out with other people. But why would you want to be involved in that kind of drama? I mean, why? But what do the folks have to say?
so Mary says, "Oh, this is rich. Not the jerk, and hats off to OP. I think OP ought to drop moving in hints or pick up a cheap engagement decoy for the 4th of July."
Ooh, I
I
like
like
it.
that. And Susan says, "If OP isn't deceiving her boyfriend, then I don't see anything wrong. But I don't think OP can change her father's mind anyway."
Mm-hmm.
And then, unrelated, but Susams also said, "In my country, we have a fortune telling by butterflies in the spring. If the first butterfly you see in spring is yellow, you will have a sunny summer." Funnily enough, the first butterfly I saw, it was either pale yellow or white. I couldn't tell for sure because it fluttered by really quickly, but maybe we're in for a sunny summer.
Yes, we might just be. Speaking of a sunny summer, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for not changing therapists despite my wife thinking that I'm having an affair with mine?" I'm a 32-year-old, and I've been involved with a violent incident a few years back as one of the survivors. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it has obviously left a mark on me. At first, I thought that it was going to be okay, but as the weeks passed, I was becoming more irritable and less present. I couldn't sleep, I lashed out, and I was struggling at work. I kept having thoughts about how I could have acted differently, or how I could have avoided the situation altogether, or how I could have saved people. And sometimes those thoughts would come at the worst moments and ruin a full night's sleep, or a great day with our daughter. It was really hard. The worst part was that I was really impatient with our daughter, a 6-year-old, and I started to really hate the parent that I was becoming and even avoiding her. My wife, a 27-year-old, was very patient at first, but eventually she had enough as well, and we realized that this wasn't going to work long term and that I needed some help. So I started therapy and medication, and this came with two major issues. First, medication took a long time to start working, and I was dealing with the side effects before I ever felt the actual effect. The other issue is that I had a hard time finding a therapist that I could actually connect with. I don't say that I did anything wrong, but there was always a lot of silence. And don't say that they did anything wrong, but there was always a lot of silence, and what I felt was judgment involved. I felt guilty for not doing well, for not getting better, etc. But things eventually did get better. Part of it, I think, was the meds, but another part was my therapist. She very quickly realized that silence made me uncomfortable, and tried what she herself said some of her colleagues would frown upon. She sometimes just shoots the breeze with me. She tells me about her own experiences sometimes, or even talks about unrelated stuff, and it really helped to put me at ease and open up. And the sessions have been going really well for a few months now. I feel that I've been doing better and been able to process things. I haven't been sleeping as well as I had hoped that I would, but I have been doing better. I've become a better husband and a better father, and I owe at least some of it to my therapist. Well, a few weeks back, my car was in the shop, and I had my wife drop me off at therapy. Then she saw my therapist, and they exchanged pleasantries before my wife took our daughter to a nearby playground to wait to pick me up. When she picked me up, she clearly had something on her mind, but she wouldn't tell me what the issue was. Well, a few days after of her being distant, I confronted her again, and she eventually confessed that she thought that I had a crush on my therapist. She said that the therapist has arm tattoos, which she knows that I like, and that she saw the therapist touching her hair, which indicates that she was into me as well. And she now thinks that the reason that I've become and been doing better is that I've been feeling guilty about the affair that I was having. Well, I told my wife that I wasn't having an affair. She's not my mistress, and she's not even my friend. She's a professional that I pay to help me deal with my issues. And me doing well speaks for itself. And besides, she could probably lose her license for dating a patient, so even if there was something, there would be nothing that would ever happen. To which my wife said that I shouldn't have an issue changing therapists then and finding someone less attractive. I don't find my therapist particularly attractive though, and I don't think that that's relevant anyways. I refused, and I've been trying to explain that changing a therapist that I actually get along well with and is helping me is a bad idea. And besides, I don't want to reward what I think is unreasonable behavior. If my wife can't trust me, then I think that we have bigger issues than me not changing or changing my therapist. But how do I bring this up delicately? And is this an issue that I don't feel, and this is an issue that I don't feel comfortable bringing up with my therapist because I worry it'll make it more difficult for her to keep treating me, but also hiding things from my therapist clearly isn't going to improve any treatment. Still, am I the jerk? I don't think that the answer is just to change therapists because my wife got jealous. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, it is really hard to find a therapist who is the right fit for you. There are lots of good therapists out there, but they are not the right fit for every person. I've seen 3 different therapists throughout my adulthood, and like I've only had one who I felt like was a really good fit for me. So, and it sounds like OP has been, a similar situation. He tried multiple therapists, and he now has found someone who really works for him, and it could set you back in progress for like a long time if you just, abruptly end your therapy and start looking for someone. I also think the wife is kind of grasping at straws here. Like, I was literally like touching my hair while Brian was reading this, because that's just one of the things I do is like I just smooth my hair. I don't think someone touching their hair necessarily means that they are into you.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the best tell in the world, right? If all it took was someone touching their hair for them to indicate that they were into you, I mean, maybe that would make communication a lot easier when it came to the dating pool, right? I think that she's grasping at straws. I think that she probably needs to go into therapy, and I think that she and her husband probably need to go into couples therapy. And I think that OP should absolutely talk to his therapist and explain the situation. That way she can at least try to help him come up with strategies to help work with his wife. And she might also be able to bring up the idea of him going into therapy or her going into therapy and couples therapy.
Yeah, because, it is important that the therapist is looped into this and not left out. So, yeah.
But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, I have had the exact same experience with a therapist. Having someone who can just keep the chat going put me at ease. She didn't touch her hair, though, not the jerk. I think therapists that would put their whole career in jeopardy for a fling are very few and far between. Yeah, like a good therapist has like so much professional ethics. Like when Brian successfully defended his dissertation, I mentioned it to my therapist, but when she saw him, she couldn't acknowledge it until he said it because of, the patient confidentiality stuff. So like, a good therapist has tight ethics and will not do anything to compromise that.
Yeah.
And then Tusum says, sounds like the wife also needs a therapist for different reasons than OP. If only reason for suspicions is just that the therapist isn't ugly, then that shows how low her self-esteem is.
Yeah. Speaking of self-esteem, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Attacking My Almost Brother-in-Law with Wedding Cake When He Tried to Prank the Bride? This has nothing to do with self-esteem, but we'll make it work anyways. Hi again. As you can see, I have deleted the... Oh, wait, we can't read this one. I forgot. This one was a really good one, but unfortunately, that one was supposed to be closed off because they actually deleted the post. So.
Yeah, the sister in question didn't like having it posted.
Yeah. So there isn't anything in there. Sorry, folks. Sorry. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Wanting to Sign a Postnup After 20 Years of Marriage? Well, this one is a little bit intense here. So, I'm a 39-year-old female, and my husband, a 40-year-old male, and I have been together for 25 years and married for 20. We don't have any children. We got together in high school and married soon after high school. I went to college and then graduated with a business degree. Got a corporate job while he'd attended college and figured out what he wanted to do professionally. A few years after I started my corporate job, I had saved enough for a down payment on a house, and I was able to save enough thanks to living with my in-laws rent-free for 30 years. I purchased a property, and since my husband didn't have any income, he was left out of the loan, and the bank asked him to sign a quiet claim deed. Well, after 6 years in community college, my husband finally decided to quit college to focus on his freelance art career, which brought him some income. He also got a part-time job to help with his expenses. When I say that his expenses, it's mainly his gas spending and eating out. I've been the main provider for our home, paying the mortgage, utility, a majority of the entertainment and travel expenses, all of the pets, 2 dogs and a cat, expenses and groceries. He lost his part-time job during COVID, and during that time, he had a back injury that pretty much disabled him from going back to work. Now he solely relies on his freelance art, which is not always a reliable source of income. Well, a few years ago, he inherited 2 properties from his relatives. He wanted to build rental units on one of the properties, but when he didn't qualify for a loan, I stepped up and I co-signed for the loan to take out equity and use the money to build the property. He agreed to put me on the title of the loan since it would be under both of our names. I helped him deal with the architect and the city hall to pull permits. I was heavily involved with pre-construction, but we agreed that he would deal with the contractor. Even then, he came to ask me for help to deal with the contractor once in a while and to go with him for the inspections. When the money from the loan ran out, I put some of my own funds to finish the project. My husband said that he would pay me back, but 2 years later, and I haven't gotten it all back yet. Prior to getting the loan, he asked if I would be willing to sign a document stating that I had no claim to the property. At the time, I didn't really think much of it, but I hadn't realized how much involvement that I would actually have in the property. After the construction was completed, I was in charge of finding a property management company. And before that, I was the main contact for the rental posting while looking for tenants, since he said that he didn't have the patience to deal with people. Well, a couple of years after the construction, he brought up the post up again. After giving it some thought, while I agree that I don't have any claim to the property solely on his name, I do have a claim to at least the addition that we made to the second property. He says that I shouldn't have to benefit from his family's inheritance. It makes me feel like trash that everything I did to help him to build up the units meant nothing to him. He says that me not signing the postnup makes him feel like he can't trust me. But a postnup was never the issue when he didn't have a property and all we had was our residence that was under my name. He said that since he signed a quit claim deed, that he doesn't have a claim to our residence. But that's not how it works in a community property state. I know that the postnup would also benefit me, and in that it would also protect my residence, my 401k, and any future alimony payments. But the distrust is so hurtful that I think that at this point I would rather divorce. I wouldn't touch his properties, but would demand to have him refinance to remove me from the loan on the rental property. I just don't think that I can get over the distrust and loss of self-respect if I were to sign a postnup after 20 years of marriage. It just makes me feel like such a doormat. What would you do in this situation? Am I thinking about this wrong and not seeing his side? Am I being inconsiderate since the rental income would be his lifeline if we were to get a divorce? Just a side note, there is no suspicion about infidelity or anything like that. The thing is that I love him very much and I know that he loves me too. I just don't know where all this mistrust is coming from. All right, folks, what do you folks think?
No, OP is definitely not the jerk here. It seems like for OP, what's hers is his, but for him, what's his is his. And that's it. Like, he's willing to take OP's free labor. And like, she did so much of the hard work here. Like him being like, oh, I don't want to deal with people. what is he going to do when the current tenants leave? Like, he can't expect the set of tenants he has now to just stay there forever.
Yeah.
You know, Opie has been essentially running this business for him. He's there, like, to offer the property, and that sounds like really it's about the end of it. So, if I were in Opie's shoes, I mean, I might go for the postnup if it would protect me more in a divorce, and then hand him the divorce papers.
If I were OP, I would consult a lawyer.
Well, yeah.
That's the first thing that I would do. And I would talk to the lawyer and see how to split things up equitably and fair in the case of a divorce, right? And then, sign it so that it's very beneficial for OP, because it sounds like OP has been doing a majority of everything, right? And then, I don't know, like what you said, maybe divorce him if she doesn't feel like the postnup if she feels like the postnup is a breach of trust. That way, she gets the protection of the postnup. She doesn't have to pay him alimony. It's what he wanted. And then divorce him, because that's what he wants, right? I mean, not that he wants the divorce, but I mean, like, in the case of a divorce, he wants to protect himself.
Right. If the trust is so thoroughly broken after all this time, like, as soon as he gets property, he's like, I need to protect this from you.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you have been building me up, I need to protect my interests.
I mean, what is this guy even doing?
It doesn't sound like very much. I think he owns a rental property, and that's about the size of it.
I mean, he's a landlord, and he's a landlord who needs their wife to do everything for them.
Right.
What is he even going to do after, if they do get divorced, right? Like, he can't run that property on his own. He doesn't know how to do that. OP is doing it all. She's doing all the labor. Maybe she needs to make an invoice and put that together for whatever, divorce creed that they have, or, postnup creed that they have. I just think that this is absurd. I think that this guy just doesn't know what he has, right? But what do the comments have to say?
Susum says, divorce and have as much as you can from him. He doesn't sound like a good partner. Mary says, I've never understood the incentive for signing a postnup. The deed is done. I think Opie's idea of a divorce makes perfect sense. Not the jerk, make a clean break, and love him from afar. And then Susum says, and it's nice to see that Opie actually sees the problem in the situation, because a lot of people pretend not to see red flags. Mm-hmm. And then Mary says, I'd like to see an update on this one. Yeah, me too.
Speaking of seeing for an update, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to do a friendship contract my roommate made, and now she wants me to move out? This is very kind of similar in vibes to the last one. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I live with a girl that I met in college. We'll call her Mel. We've been roommates for almost a year now, and for the most part, it's been fine. We split chores, rent's on time, and we have similar schedules. We're not super close friends, but chill. But then, like 2 weeks ago, she sat me down, all serious, and pulled out a printed friendship agreement. I thought this was a joke at first, but nope. 6 full pages, bullet points, and all. Stuff like, I won't talk about Mel behind her back. I will respond to text within 4 hours unless asleep. I agree to tell Mel if something she says hurts me. I will make time for at least one quality hangout per week. She wanted me to read it and sign it, and to go over it together like a business contract. I told her that I appreciate the effort, but I didn't feel comfortable signing something like that, especially since we're not even best friends or anything like that. She really got upset and said that she was trying to build a safe, secure, emotionally mature relationship, and that people like me are the reason that no one knows how to communicate anymore. I said again that I think communication is great, but this felt performative and awkward, and I don't want to be treat our friendship like a legally binding deal. And now she's been cold and distant towards me, and just told me that she's thinking about moving out because she can't build trust in a place where it's not emotionally safe. And honestly, I didn't think that it was that deep. Am I the jerk for refusing to sign her weird friendship contract? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, friendship is not something you can, like, legislate with a contract. I think her whole thing about calling this, like, the emotionally mature approach, you have to accept that other people are going to have their own things, and, like, trying to enforce, like, one quality hangout a week, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Does Opie have to hang out with Mel until she judges that the hangout has been quality? Like, who is the arbiter of this?
Yeah.
It's unenforceable. It makes no sense. In the 4 hours, if I will respond to you within 4 hours unless I'm asleep, like people have lives. They can't always be, it's not like she's OP's partner or something, She's just her roommate. And so it seems like a big overreach.
It is a big overreach. I think that Mel sounds like a person who has been deeply hurt in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand somebody who feels like they've been hurt in the past, needing some kind of assurance. And maybe this is part of the reason why they're not closer friends, is because Mel has been hurt in the past and she has a hard time getting close to people, right? But that's a job for therapy, right? That isn't a job for a friendship contract. And something that I want to note about this friendship contract is it's very one-sided.
It is. It's all about what Mel wants. There's nothing in there about, protecting OP. It doesn't sound like there's reciprocal clauses like, and I will respond to OP within 4 hours unless I'm sleeping or anything like that.
So again, I think that this is, like OP said, very performative. I don't think that this is a healthy way of having a friendship. You have to have trust in a friendship, but it can't be a legally binding contract. I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Well, and that's the thing is, like, you can talk, like if she had just been like, oh, hey, OP, I'd like to spend more time with you. Can we try to hang out once a week?
Yeah.
That's one thing. That might be perfectly fine within the scope of, the kind of relationship they have. But to be like, I want to put this in a contract and hold you to it, that just doesn't, that feels icky.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
CSUM says, it sounds like Mel has some issues and I assume that she has a bad past, but still signing a contract is way too much. Mary says, a contract about don't eat my food or clean your own mess makes sense. This sounds like this person is looking for a soulmate.
Yeah, it does sound very much like that. Speaking of looking for a soulmate, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for calling my husband weird for him being mad at me for reading his diary/journal for 15 plus years ago? And surprisingly, my segue works this time. So I'm a 39-year-old female and my husband is 38. Before we started dating, his parents asked me to house sit a few times while they were on vacation. And I thought their kid was cute, and I remember finding a diary journal, a thing that kind of belonged to him. I just read it over those times to see what he liked, and then asked him out once I knew that stuff. And he said yes, and here we are today. Anyways, right, he was cleaning out the closet when in the back he found the journal thing and was probably gifted however long ago. He never used it though. When he found it, I made a joke of, oh, I used to read yours. And he thought that he would just ignore it. And I thought that he would just ignore it, but he was like, you did what? I just told him to forget about it, but he kept trying, and I just told him the entire first paragraph. He was weirded out by it for some reason, even though it was like when I was 24, and said that I invaded his privacy. I didn't expect him to react like that, and told him that it doesn't matter anymore. And he felt a need to make it an issue, to which I have told him that at the end of the day, he didn't have to say yes to me, and that he was being a weirdo about it, and that was a bit ago. He was kind of miffed by me saying that, and I'm sure that he's long forgotten about it since then. So am I the jerk in this situation? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you're the jerk, but not. Yes, you shouldn't call him a weirdo, but you invaded his privacy and then delegitimized his feelings.
Like, downplayed it, right?
Yeah,
a lot.
You've known about this for years. This is his first time hearing it, and it's kind of shocking to know that, one, your partner has read your private diary and knows, intimate details about your life from a certain period, and two, that they use that to get with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the part here that is kind of the slimiest, right? Is the fact that she used this information to get with him. And I think that was a huge invasion of privacy, and it was not a good thing to do. And I can't blame him for feeling hurt, upset, and confused by this, right? I think that she was out of line, and this probably should have been one of those things that she took to her grave.
Well, or been upfront with him from the beginning. The ideal would be you don't read people's stuff, but if you do, you tell them.
Mm-hmm. But what do the comments have to say?
I'm not seeing any comments.
Oh, there's no comments yet. Well then, I mean, I guess we'll give it a
Oh,
second
Mary has a
here.
comment. I can see why this would bother hubby. You're the jerk. It would make him look back on his whole life with OP and second guess all sorts of experiences.
I mean, I think that's really fair because, like, now he's gonna be wondering, well, was this?
Genuine, or was OP just doing this because she knows I like it?
Yeah. Oh, and now Sue Sums is also a reply.
Okay, and Susam says, I can see how someone young wouldn't understand how bad it is to read someone else's diary, but now he is old enough to understand how bad it was.
Yeah. Speaking of knowing how bad it was, our next letter is titled, My husband, a 29-year-old male, messaged my ex for nudes of me, a 29-year-old female. Is this messed up? The
Yes.
short answer is yes. Edit, I will say that we have lately played around with jealousy type of kings, and I think that it's just ridiculous that he took it this far. I broke up with my emotionally abusive ex 9 years ago. We've had no contact, and my husband knows that. There are no trust issues. I had to explain to my husband that my ex still had photos of his ex at the time when the ex and I were dating, a small issue of the emotionally abusive relationship that I was in. So I could understand if he thought that my ex still had nudes of me. We joked about him messaging my ex for pics, but I didn't think that he would actually do it. He said that he was feeling frisky, and it was a bad decision that he made out of being horny. Well, he's sorry, but genuinely doesn't understand why I'm flipping out. He's trying to see it from my perspective, but if the roles were reversed, he said that he wouldn't mind as much. My ex messaged me letting me know what my husband said and that it was inappropriate. I feel so embarrassed that the ex that mistreated me has the upper hand now. Husband and I are in a committed, loving relationship together for 5 years, married for 2, and I'm pregnant 4 months. Why does this make he feel like such a huge violation? Here's the message he sent. Hey, how you doing? I know this is weird and completely random, but you used to date my wife. She told me that you guys took some sexy videos and pictures. Do you happen to have those still? Just to clarify, my husband does already have intimate photos of me on his phone that are between me and him. All right, folks, what do you think?
That is absolutely creepy and a huge violation, and you have every right to be upset about that, OP. Like, that he would go behind your back and ask for photos that you had not consented to giving him. That is really, really gross and not okay. And then also reintroducing your emotionally abusive ex back into your life. Like, this is someone who hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And your husband is just like, hey, dude, I know you hurt my wife, but, like, you got any pictures for me?
Yeah, this feels like a huge violation of privacy, trust, all kinds of things here. If I were OP, I don't even know if this could be
Salvaged.
at this point in time. This was just like such a gross thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how he's blaming this on, his hormones here, right? Because like surely he could have thought this through and thought about like all the implications of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just not good. Just not good.
Well, it seems like he wasn't considering OP at all in this or what effect it would have. He was only thinking about himself. And that makes me wonder if this is a larger trend in their relationship.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, yes, this is effed up. Asking for the abusive ex for nudes sounds like OP has married another abusive partner, not the jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Susam says, yikes, divorce. Husband sounds so disgusting that there isn't much to comment.
Yeah. That's a problem here. And yeah, I guess you are right. Yours are coming from Europe. I believe Lithuania, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what you said at one point in time.
I have no idea where anyone's from.
So, yeah, so Mary's from Nevada.
Yeah, I knew somewhere in the U.S.
Yeah, I believe Susums is from Lithuania. And our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for choosing my roommate's business over a family reunion after how my family acted? Well, about 3 years ago, I left my ex. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything like that, but I was unhappy. He was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. We had a dead bedroom, and he wouldn't work on it. And we just shifted into roommates, really. I didn't have enough saved for my own place, but I knew that if I didn't end up leaving, it would just be terrible. Well, I asked my family members if I could stay with them until I had things figured out and had a plan for roughly 1 month up to 2 months. They all decided, they all declined, so I lived in a car for a little while. My family is big on pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, no handouts, no just accepting the consequences of your choices, etc. So I was not surprised. I did not have local friends to ask. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back into town and invited me to be her roommate, and that's where I am now. Well, for the conflict. My mom asked me what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. They had made reservations and things were and they were under the assumption that I would be going. Well, a while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at the craft fair this year. She does 10 to 15 of them, and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. I told my mom that I had plans over the summer and that I wouldn't be able to come. She got mad at me and asked me what plans could be better than a trip to Florida. I explained what I would be doing, and she scoffed. She told me that this was probably the last time we would all get to be with some of the older family members. She said that I have no sense of familial obligation. Suddenly, there's a familial obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where at the end of the night I would leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot and nobody blinked. Well, I brought that up to my mom and she immediately said that it was my own bad choices and that's why I ended up living in my car and that they are not required to coddle me as a grown woman. I said that it goes both ways. She said that I was being a petty brat. I ended the call. My sister later called me about it and asked what my problem was and why I'm still holding on to ancient grudges against the rest of them and how this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. I don't know that there are a few family members that I probably won't get to see again if I don't go. This is the main reason why I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Am I the jerk for not going to the family reunion and picking my roommate instead? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. It sounds like your roommate has been more family to you than a lot of your family members. It also doesn't sound like the family has ever acknowledged their wrongdoing or tried to make amends. The sister's whole, oh, this is a family reset for whom? Who is actually like willing to acknowledge that they did, like the mom is still doubling down being like, no, this is on you. It doesn't sound like anyone has actually apologized to OP, has offered to make amends in any way. They just want to sweep it under the rug. They want to play happy family.
Well, even there, the mom, she just basically was like, well, that's your problem.
Exactly.
Right? And when OP tried to show them, like, oh, well, this is really kind of a double-sided standard that you've created, the mother was having none of it.
Yeah.
So I think that OP, the thing is, like, OP has an obligation they already committed to.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was this important to them, this should have been a trip that they planned well in advance,
and
right?
it's like talked about with OP as well to make sure she was available.
Yeah. So I think that this is kind of poor planning on their part.
I think it shows how little regard they have for OP. They just expect her to fall in line whenever they want her somewhere.
Yeah.
And if she has any amount of independence that messes with their plans, that's a problem.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say? And real quick before we do that, Latvia, that's what it was, not Lithuania. Sorry.
Mary says, wow, if the family can force OP to live in their car, they can deal with OP dipping on the family festival. Familial obligation, I think giving shelter falls into that category. Not the jerk mom equals petty brat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Susum says, is OP even close to these old people who may not be there after a few years? And parents need to let young adults have some life. After a few years, they'll make their own choices and to go and visit family.
Speaking about difficult choices, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Turning a Man Down Because He Didn't Respect My Rules? Maybe not such a difficult choice.
Yeah.
I'm a 25-year-old female and I matched with a man named Charles, a 28-year-old male, on a dating app. In my bio, I stated that I have 2 rules. 1, I don't kiss until the second date, and 2, nothing intimate except kissing until we've been in an official relationship for 3 months. Our conversation was decent at first until he asked if he could kiss me, and I said no. Then he said, you know rules are made to be broken. And I replied, and I said clearly that we wouldn't work out then. If you don't like my rules, then feel free to unmatch me. Well, he kept trying, and every other response from me was either a no and okay and I'm good. He told me to hit him up if I ever wanted to explore a little, and that I said that I wouldn't. He asked me why, and I replied, and I said that you've already made it clear that you're not going to respect my rules. Why would I still be interested? He said that he would respect my rules, but he wanted me to tweak them a little bit, and I said no. A little bit later, he told me to hit him up if I ever wanted to, I forgot about some of this stuff in here, some adult explicit stuff, and I told him that I won't want to do any of that. He said that I might, but I made it clear that I won't. He then asked if I thought that if he was a good-looking guy or not, and I replied, and I said that you're all right. He then asked why I want to consider being his girlfriend, and I replied, you've already made it clear that you're not going to respect my rules. Why would I want to date you? He said that he would respect my rules. He just wanted to meet me halfway, because that's what relationships are about, and that his rules matter too, not just mine. I replied and said, I'm good. And he replied, okay, I'm going to unmatch now since you're clearly not trying to build anything. I replied and said, okay. And he unmatched me. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Actually, like, really good on you, OP.
Yeah.
I'm glad you noticed that what he was doing is not okay. He has every single step of the way. OP had some very clear boundaries that she had established about what she was comfortable with in terms of physical intimacy. And in a situation like that, there is no room for compromise. If someone is not comfortable being intimate, you just have to stop and wait for them to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I think he has shown why he's not a good partner for anyone, because he is not willing to respect someone's physical boundaries.
Well, and I think there's an important distinction here, right? Compromises aren't over boundaries, right? There are deal breakers.
Yeah.
So if his deal breaker is, I want to be with somebody who's going to kiss me after the first date, or I want to be with somebody who's going to be intimate with me after a shorter period of time, he can have those deal breakers. That relationship isn't going to work out. There are deal breakers, right? But OP is allowed to have her physical boundaries.
Right, and it seems like he even just wanted to push them.
Yeah.
And that's what really concerns about me. Like, as if he saw, like, read her bio and was just like, she's not the person for me, and, like, unmatched. That's fine. Yeah. Like, you are allowed to, like, realize that someone is not compatible for you. But the whole, like, well, rules are meant to be broken. Like, he is explicitly trying to push OP to do things that she's not comfortable with for his own pleasure.
Yeah, and I mean, I do agree. I mean, I think that's just not a good sign. I don't think it's a good sign at all. But what do the comments have to say?
Susan says, I don't understand why OP doesn't just block him. Mary says, buddy, your language knocked you right out of the running, not the jerk. And then Susan says, I don't understand why he can't just find someone who doesn't have rules like OP, but probably it is just about control and not about compromise. And then Mary says, I'd be afraid that this guy wouldn't take no as an answer, but a challenge. Yeah, that's how I'm definitely getting those vibes from him.
Yeah, I would say that those vibes are definitely strong. Speaking of strong vibes, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to give back the house that my mom put in my name to hide it from her ex? Throwaway, because my mom follows my main account. So a few years ago, my mom was going through a nasty divorce with her now ex-husband. They had a ton of financial drama, and to avoid having to split the house that she owned before marrying him, she quietly transferred the deed to me, her oldest daughter. I was 23 at the time, and I was living with roommates, and I didn't fully understand the implications. But she told me that it's temporary. I trust you more than any lawyer. Okay, whatever. I signed the papers. Well, flash forward to now. I'm 26, and the house is legally mine, and I live in it. I pay the taxes, upkeep, and everything. My mom already owned an apartment, and with the divorce and everything, she kind of forgot about the house. And I guess that it was implied that I would be able to keep living in it. Had she moved out of the apartment a year ago to travel with her new boyfriend, who is now 34, she's 52. He's really creepy, and he's made a few sleazy comments to me, but that's a story for another day. Well, recently she asked me if she and her boyfriend could stay for a little while they figured out their next steps. I agreed as long as they treated it like guests and tried not to play house. 2 weeks in, she's acting like the queen of the castle again, telling me that I dress inappropriately in my own kitchen and that I shouldn't be bringing random men over. I've been dating my boyfriend for 8 months? Well, then last week, she told me that I needed to find somewhere else to stay for a bit because her boyfriend and her need some quiet time and space for him to work on his music. This man records SoundCloud traps in my dining room, and I laughed, thinking that she was joking. She was not. Well, 2 days later, she serves me some fake-looking eviction notice and typed in Comic Sans. I really wish that I was joking. I reminded her calmly that I own the house and that it's in my name, and it's been that way for 3 years. She turned red, started screaming that I betrayed her, and used her vulnerable moment to steal her property. She called me a snake and said that I'm choosing a roof over family. Now my aunts and cousins are blowing up my phone, saying that I need to do the right thing and give her the house back because she's your mother. Even my little brother is saying that my mom is crying every night, just fix it. I could transfer it back, mainly because I'm scared that she might bring a lawyer into the mix, but she tried to kick me out of my own home for her SoundCloud boyfriend. So am I the jerk for refusing to give it back? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. Opie has been acting as a homeowner for the past 3 years, paying the taxes and upkeep and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the mom was being shady from the beginning. Like, if she were to bring lawyers into this, she probably would get herself potentially into trouble for like
Fraud.
Yeah, because she did this intentionally to keep so that she wouldn't have to divvy the property up with her ex.
Yeah, this is a messy situation, right? And unfortunately, OP probably didn't realize what they were getting into when they, signed the papers and stuff like that. Because of what their mother did, this might be not so good to reflect on OP as well, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I think that it would be wise for them to find a lawyer and seek legal counsel because this could get really messy really quickly. And I just want to point out too that the house was actually OP's father's.
Yeah.
And before the mother before he passed away, actually. And then she got into another relationship and then divorced that person, right? This is, again, it's a challenging situation because I think that OP's just really in a bad spot. They've been paying the, maintenance, they've been paying the taxes. Their mother hasn't been doing any of that stuff. And in that respect, I think the mother would need to reimburse her before any kind of movement forward on that, right? It's a hard situation. I don't know how I can judge OP here because very technically, this was entrusted to her so that they could give it back to their mom eventually. And that was the understanding that OP had here. But seeing as how their mom kind of abandoned it after the fact, didn't really use it.
There was no stated time frame.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, OP has been living here, has been paying all the taxes and maintenance, and the mom doesn't really care about her that much. It's just like, I'm willing to kick you out so my boyfriend can have more space to do his music recording.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say? And hi, Marcia.
So Mary says, is the mom going to reimburse OP for taxes and upkeep, fees for house sitting, inconvenience fees? Not the jerk. Bring a lawyer into the mix. Whose idea was it to pull off this shenanigan? And then Susum says, this is a bit complicated because the mother gave the house to OP to keep it safe, but OP is paying for everything for that house for years, so mom needs to pay for that at least. Anyway, the house is OP's, and mom legally doesn't have any rights, but as we all know, that legally and morally are not always the same.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I struggle with on this one, is that legal versus moral type of question. Legally, OP's probably fine, and in fact, the mom could get into a lot of trouble for this. Morally, it's a little bit more murky for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's crystal clear, but I feel like OP is the least bad actor in the situation.
Yeah. Speaking of being the least bad actor in a situation, our next letter is titled, I'm a 29-year-old female, and my fiance, a 33-year-old male, insist on doing trust-building exercises where he blindfolds me in public. Well, I'm starting to feel humiliated. So I've been with my fiance for 3 years and we've been engaged for 6 months. He's always been into quote unquote building trust and doing weird exercises from books that he reads or podcasts that he listens to. It started out small, like falling backwards into each other's arms or taking turns giving up the control of the TV for a week. But now it's getting a little bizarre. His newest thing is that public vulnerability drill type stuff. Basically, he blindfolds me and walks me through public places, like Target, the dog park, or the farmer's market, while narrating what's going on. I'm supposed to quote-unquote trust his eyes and lose mine. Sometimes he will guide me into smell random fruit, or experience vibrations by touching a speaker in electronic stores. Well, last weekend, he walked me into a fountain at a mall to test how I would react to unexpected stimuli. I got soaked, and he said that I passed with a B+. I'm not making this up. He really grades me. I tried to tell him that I didn't enjoy it, and it makes me feel ridiculous, but he got upset and said that I clearly have deep-rooted control issues, and this is how we work through them. He also said that I shouldn't undermine the sacred space of trust. What do I even do and say to that? Is this some therapy thing that I'm not educated enough to understand? All right, folks, what do you think?
OP, run. This is a control tactic he is using. Notice how it is no longer reciprocal. Like it sounds like at first the trust falls were reciprocal.
Mm-hmm.
Is he? But it doesn't sound like he's having you guide him around stores blindfolded.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like he's having you walk him into fountains. It doesn't sound like you're grading him on anything. Where's his rubric? Are these arbitrary grades he's giving you? He is trying to get you to submit to him unquestioningly.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, right? Like, this does feel like it's unquestioning submission at this point in time, and I just want to pause on this thought. Hi, sweet memories. Welcome. Sorry that you're a little late. I think that this is gearing up to be something more, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, I think that he is slowly trying to work on OP and make his will be the dominant will, and you absolutely are right here. Where is the reciprocalness of all of this, right? Right.
And notice how he framed OP tried to tell him that she didn't like being pushed into the fountain, and he said, I clearly have deep-rooted control issues.
Yeah. Well, he broke trust here, right?
Yep.
Like, that's a huge thing.
And he's saying his words right there when he accuses OP of having control issues.
Yeah.
He is telling on himself.
Yeah, his accusation is a confession in this particular case, right? Like, he's confessing that he has deep-rooted control issues here because he is I can't see any other reason for him doing these kinds of things, right?
So OP, I would say break up with him yesterday. If you want to, you can also try turning this around on him, but I don't trust him to be a safe person to do that with.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point. Like, maybe turning this around on him, being like, well, last time it was my turn, now it's your turn, right?
Yeah, like, well, and where is the reciprocity? Like, we used to do trust falls together.
Yeah.
Why are we no longer that? Why is it only I who have to trust you? Why don't you have to trust me?
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary first said, I don't trust fiance already.
Yeah.
Marcia says, weird already. Why would she agree to such a thing? Run. Susum says, does he have some information that OP will become blind? Mary says, can OP turn the tables on this guy or would he balk at that? And Susum says, and often it has nothing to do with trust. It is okay to feel uncomfortable or not to see, even if you trust your partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Like, if Brian were to, I trust Brian a lot, but if he were to walk me into a fountain, I would be very upset by that.
You wouldn't trust me anymore because I would have,
that trust.
Yeah, this walking her into a fountain wasn't unexpected stimuli. It was wearing her down, right?
And trying to humiliate her and then accept her humiliation.
Yeah. And this is such a strange thing to do, too. Like, I've never seen people guiding their partners around blindfolded in public.
Because the entire purpose is just to humiliate her.
Yeah.
He's normalizing her to being humiliated.
Yeah. It's very strange. Very, very strange. Speaking of very, very strange, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for letting my ex's pregnant girlfriend have her baby shower at my house and making sure that she knows that it's still my house? Maybe not as strange as the last one, though. I'm a 38-year-old female and I separated from my husband after he cheated on me with a 26-year-old who is now pregnant. We still co-own our house and rotate weeks for our teenage son. He asked if he could have her baby shower there, and I said no. He pushed and said that I should be mature, so I agreed. But she had to plan it all herself and had no money help from us and no touching anything that's mine. I labeled everything that I own with sticky notes and locked the master bedroom and bathroom. She cried during the party and now has the whole family calling me petty and heartless. But I didn't ruin this family. I just stopped pretending that everything was fine. Am I the jerk, or did she finally get a taste of the mess that she helped create? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, it sounds like, I don't know what the husband was expecting to happen here. Like, just to play happy family with his ex. Like, of course, OP is not going to be happy about having his affair partner's baby shower in the house that she still currently lives in.
Yeah.
He should have found a neutral space for the baby shower.
Yeah.
If he didn't want this kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's it, is that this is just one of those situations where he pushed and pushed and pushed, and OP finally said, okay, fine, we'll do it, but under these conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was a little petty for OP to sticky label every single thing that OP owned, but...
Well, I mean, if you don't want those things used,
Yeah.
like, make it clear that these are not to be part of the celebration, because, like, they could wreck her stuff, you know, even if inadvertently.
Mm-hmm. So it's a strange situation. I think they should have gotten a different venue, and I don't know why he wanted the house of all places. Why bring that up? Why bring that into the house at all?
Because he wants to play happy family with her. He wants to pretend like everything is fine, and it's cheap. He doesn't have to pay for the venue that way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess cheap is the operative word here. But what do the comments have to say?
Let's see. Marsha says, not the jerk. Susum says, it is petty, but I can't blame OP for anything. Sweet Memory says, WTF. And Mary says, not the jerk. I would be creeped out to have the side piece rummaging through my things.
Yeah. You and me both, Mary. You and me both. Speaking of rummaging through things, our next letter is titled Tea Time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
It's kind of sad that penguins can't fly. They're too short to be pilots.
Oh, no. Those poor penguins.
And that was from the Ultimate Joke book, so
Yes.
that's not one of mine.
So that was not an Amber joke. So don't worry, folks. Amber didn't come up with that one. She came up with other jokes. So what is everyone drinking tonight? And after that, we're going to actually get into the last letter and I think go from there.
What do people... maybe we can ask this afterward. I was going to ask what everyone's doing for the weekend.
Oh, the weekend, yeah. Hopefully you're doing something springy. We also should reveal the results of the poll.
Oh, yes.
The new leaves are at 28%, butterflies at 28%, flowers at 28%, and then other at 14%. So basically, it's a little bit of a mix for everyone. 2, 2, 2, and 1.
Yep.
Maybe I'll select the other, and then that way...
It's completely split evenly.
Yeah, split. That's what I'll do. I'll say other. Other things. I like the frogs that come out in the springtime. That's not really what I like, but I'm going to say that so that I can fulfill the obligation of having it a four-way tie. Doesn't happen very often. So... And let's see, some people are drinking, Mary's drinking peach tea. Well, I hope you enjoyed your peach tea. Sweet Memories is drinking vodka Red Bull. And Susums is drinking some wine because you have to work tomorrow. And some Mega Mints and Mega Mints for two people. But unfortunately, I actually have the special guest tea, some matcha. So no Mega Mint today. No Mega Mint today. Frogs are amazing. I mean, I like frogs. They do have like a very pleasant call, as long as you know. I mean, even like when they get to be a lot of them, you know, at nighttime, you can hear them. They're kind of soothing. They're a soothing sound, right? Frogs are a very soothing sound. Rat's less soothing sound, Mary.
I was confused by that at first too. Like I read that, and I was like, I would not say rats are my favorite thing about spring. It took my brain a second to figure out what you actually meant.
I know, I know. Oh, you like seeing the spring flowers, but when in Ohio, you were excited to see for that. But seeing the tree buds was a sign of hope of nicer weather. Yes, yes.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I like all these things. Butterflies, I love, and I was so excited to see my first butterfly today. So like I had to go with butterfly. But I love flowers too, and budding leaves and all the springy things because we're not in winter anymore.
Yeah, well, it's finally nice because we actually have seen buds on the trees now. So, that's great. That's great. All right, folks, and our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Training a Guy Like a Dog? I am a 23-year-old female, and I have recently started seeing this guy, a 26-year-old male. He's super pretty, not petty. But he's kind of emotionally unavailable, and he's alluded to an unstable/unhealthy childhood. For some context, I work as a socializing abused and neglected dogs at a local shelter, and I think how much time I've spent with the dogs is impacting the way I interact with people. When we were on a date, I started subconsciously making mental notes about him like I would make about the dogs. For example, I noticed that when we went out to dinner, I noticed that he ate really quickly and was very anti-sharing, resource guarding. But when I offered to pay and suggested dessert, it seemed to make him really happy and a little calmer, food motivated. He really was particular about his car, territorial/crate aggression. He likes it when I pick where we go, what to do, and what we do, eager to please, etc. So I've started using the tactics that I would use on dogs with similar problems. Well, recently a friend of mine, a 22-year-old female, pointed out that it was weird that I kept peanut butter M&Ms on me with the specific purpose of offering the guy when I see him, and offering them again whenever I can tell that he's feeling vulnerable. She said that I'm being a jerk because he's a person, not a dog, so I shouldn't be training him like one. I didn't think that was fair. I'm not trying to control him or anything like that. I just want him to feel comfortable with me the same way that I need animals that I'm helping to be comfortable with me as well. Humans and animals aren't that different after all. We just want to feel safe and cared for. The guy hasn't noticed yet, as far as I can tell, and the problem is that my quote-unquote technique is yielding really positive results. So am I the jerk? Should I stop? All right, folks, what do you think of this one?
This one is a little complicated for me because on the one hand, like people are animals, and so it's not surprising that we would have some of the same psychological techniques would work on us that would work on animals. Although some of her parallels seem a little strained. The important thing is making sure your partner feels happy and healthy and safe. And if her results are yielding that, like, that's a good thing. But at the same time, it's like, how would he feel if he knew that OP was using these dog training techniques on him? And that's kind of where I have an issue, because like it's one of the things where you do not want to keep the secret forever from your partner.
I think this is a difficult situation, right? What OP is describing here is being an attentive partner, right? Someone who is in tune with the emotional needs of your partner is not a bad thing. If OP was using this to manipulate or change their partner, that's where this would actually be problematic.
That would be hugely problematic.
But OP isn't doing this to be manipulative. She's doing it to build trust in a relationship, which I don't necessarily inherently think is a bad thing. However, I think that she needs to examine what the optics of this would look like if her partner found out that she was training him like a dog.
Well, and that's my big concern is like, because odds are this is going to come up in some way, shape, or form, whether it's, hearing a friend talk about it or something like that. I mean, OP's friends have noticed it, or she's told them about it. And so it seems like, this is bound to come out eventually if she keeps it up. And so how would he feel? And maybe, it's time to have that conversation. So.
That's the problem here. It's like, again, I don't see anything inherently wrong with what she's doing.
Right. There's nothing wrong with using techniques that you've learned. Like, I mean, because again, like, I mean, some of those behaviors, like, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, they're talking about him eating his food really fast and not wanting to share. I was like, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I mean, and what partner doesn't like having a partner who is prepared and has snacks and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a thing that anyone would say, this is a terrible thing that you have snacks for your partner on hand, right?
Mhm.
So,
Can I have snacks?
yeah, we have plenty of snacks in the cupboards. You can go get yourself a snack. But again, like it doesn't seem like there's anything, and the only thing that I can really pick at here is say, the verbiage that you're using here is a little potentially offensive. But again, I don't know that there's anything here that I draw too much of a concern from. But what do the comments have to say?
Susam says, it's fine. People and animals are not that different. Just make sure he and anyone else never knows that. Mary says, this reminds me of a Big Bang Theory episode. Susam says, it's kind of sweet and cute to have his favorite snacks. And then Mary says, Penny trained the oblivious Sheldon with treats. And then Marcia says, what a novel idea. LOL, good results. And Sweet Mary says, it's a bit funny and not harmful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I just don't feel like it's harmful unless she was using it to basically like manipulate him. Like she was creating a Pavlovian response so that like he drools or something like that every time she like rings the bell. That might be a little bit of a weird situation. And but let's go into the outro here. And speaking of the outro, I have the wrong date and time. So let's change this around. Instead of the April, it's going to be May 30th.
The day after my birthday.
Yes, May 30th. So let's change that real quick. May, and maybe I'll actually save this time. May 30. All right. There we go. But that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you had a good time at our live stream today. And I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy the springy weather if you are in a place that is getting spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I had a lot of fun. I hope you folks did too. Hope you enjoyed the stories and the time and the memories that we created here. Yes, it's been a blast. Thank you, Mary, for joining us. I had a lot of fun.
You can show people I have another proof copy of my book.
Amber has another proof copy of her book. It's going to look backwards to you, but it is frontwards to me.
So I'll be reading this starting this weekend, proofreading again, but we're getting close to having, I just mostly have to check the formatting now, so it's getting close, getting very close to being done.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Sue Sums. We were happy to have you here. I know it's like late where you're at here, so thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Marcia. Your idea about cake is great.
Yes, we can celebrate.
Yes. Thanks for joining us, Sweet Memories, and anyone else who is out there and not saying anything. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you had a good time. So, when is your book coming out, Amber?
July 1st.
July 1st. So, Amber's book is coming out July 1st. You can pre-order the ebook right now.
Yes, and we're working on paperback pre-orders. So, that's what part of why I had the proof copy for, is to make sure that the interior looks good, and then I'll be able to set up some of the print pre-orders. Amazon doesn't allow print pre-orders, so it won't be available on Amazon until release day, but it should be available to pre-order at other retailers.
Yeah, and so once we actually have that all set up, we'll put in a link to the book for anyone who's interested. So again, excuse me, thank you to everyone for joining us, and I guess we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!